What's up, everybody? It's episode 4. If you didn't get a chance to see episode 3, we had Triner O'Donnell, aka Big Tex, on in episode 3. So you give that a listen. He kind of dived in a little bit into what the new draftees got to experience a little bit down in the complex, and he didn't get into a game, but he still got to experience a little bit of the rehabbers and some other things down there. But today we got another member of the 2023 draft class, Cade Feeney. What's going on, Cade?
Nothing much. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I've noticed a trend so far on the two other guys that we've interviewed in the draft class that you guys got pretty close pretty quickly. What would you say your experience has been with your fellow draft classmates?
For me, it's been amazing. I know it's kind of nerve wracking a little bit just to see who you're rooming with and meet some of the guys, and then it was probably after like the first day that we got along right away, and it was just simple stuff, going out to eat, and then obviously the more you're around them, the more stuff happens, more funny things happen. So yeah, it's great group of guys.
And he told me to ask you about the Marco Polo games.
Yeah, that was one of the first few weeks we were down there. I think it was a Saturday night, just because we don't have anything Sunday, and we were goofing around in the pool, and yeah, definitely a good time, that's for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. He said that's the one thing that really stuck out to him when I asked him. I'm like, hey, we have Cade coming on tomorrow. I was like, anything you got? He's like, ask him about how good our Marco Polo games were early on. So that's good. But yeah, a guy coming from North Dakota, and I actually reached out to you after you got drafted about that and kind of talked about it. So can we rewind it here? Can you bring me through like what your draft experience was like?
Yeah, went to North Dakota State, stayed home in the state. Kind of just played my 3 years there, got looks my junior year, and then that's kind of when things kind of just took off. And then went to the Red Sox workout in, I think it was June, or yep, it was June. So got to meet kind of the front office people up there, and obviously got along with them really well. And then getting the calls from them was kind of my hope and goal throughout the draft. And yeah, so it worked out perfect.
And when did you kind of realize that you're like, oh, like this Red Sox thing is like pretty real? Like when did you kind of feel that like you were going to get taken by them?
I think kind of during day 2, because they called me during day 2, and like they said they really liked me, so I knew that they wanted me, and they just said that we don't know when, but like I said, everything worked out. I had a good relationship with my scout and the front office people, so I mean it was perfect.
And I guess that leads me to it. So your signing scout was Fred Peterson. When I guess like how early on, like so I was kind of thinking myself, I'm just like, okay, like a guy up in North Dakota, I feel like baseball isn't like, just it's not baseball in Texas. Let's just be real. So how is high school baseball in that area? I feel like a lot of people really don't know.
Yeah, high school season's usually like 2 months. It's real short, and it's not the greatest weather. You try starting in April. It depends on what the weather's like that year, but yeah, it's a really shortened season. Nothing really like crazy with like college scouts coming or pro scouts. But summer ball's kind of that's when pretty much we play like our baseball. That's when you're traveling a lot more, getting to bigger cities like in Iowa, Minnesota, Omaha. So that's kind of where you get noticed a little more. But so like your high school season's more like a warm up for summer ball.
And so I guess that's a good question, or like a interesting thing is, it's probably colder for longer up there than the rest of the country. I mean, I feel like that's pretty obvious. But what other sports did you play like coming up?
I played basketball and football. Yeah, that's about it. Got some looks for football in college. Thought about doing both at NDSU, but chose to just stick with baseball, or just stick with one, just because it'd be easier.
What position were you in football?
Quarterback and free safety.
Oh man, I feel like the only Carson Wentz went to South Dakota, didn't he? South
No,
Dakota State.
no, he went to North Dakota State.
Yeah, North
North
Dakota.
Dakota State.
Yep. Went
That's
went
it.
to the same high school as him. Good family friends with him.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah,
Chris was not expecting that one.
No, I played with. He has a little brother that's my age, and we played basketball, baseball growing up together.
Wow. Yeah, that was a shot in the dark there. I had no idea that it was even that, but because I went to Mizzou and we played we played South Dakota this year, I think, and I'm like, everybody's like, no, that's where Carson Wentz went. I was like, I don't think that's where he went, but it's all good. I guess I wanted to kind of ask you a little bit about your time at the complex. I know we kind of like dove into a little bit earlier, but what was that like? I guess so. After you went through the draft and you got picked by the Red Sox, what were those coming days like getting to Fort Myers?
Yeah, it was a lot of me just kind of packing everything. I had to go back to Fargo to clean out the rest of my house. I brought some stuff home, but obviously you never know with the draft, so I left most of my stuff there. So I had to go back, clean it out, and then I went back home for, I think it was like one more day. Just hung out with friends and family before I left, and then made my way towards Fort Myers.
What
And
what was your like? So you were there obviously it was obviously a short period of time. What's like your biggest takeaway? Because you said like you were hoping that the Sox were the team that drafted you. That happened. What's been like your biggest takeaway so far, being in the organization? A little bit of turmoil, I guess, right now with the front office piece being unstable until they announce Heimblum's replacement. But I guess just in general, what's been your biggest takeaway of the Sox organization and your time there?
Just an amazing group of guys, not just like the players, but also coaches and player development down in the FCL or in Fort Myers. I mean, I learned a lot in that little 6-week period, and obviously coming back here, that's kind of what I'm going to be focusing on, everything that I learned and everything that I can do to improve. And just like the guys and the coaches were amazing help. Opened my mind to new ideas that obviously I haven't learned here in North Dakota. So it was awesome.
And you only got into one game in the complex league, but so it's a pretty small sample size. And but what was it like? I guess just like being able to pitch. I get it's not technically, I guess, your first professional game, but like, what was it like? Just kind of like ramping up down there and being able to at least make appearance before the off season.
Yeah, it was nice. Just we started building back up, and then you're throwing live outings against the FCL team, and then finally just being able to play someone else than your guys is the main part. It was just fun to go out there and compete with a few of the draft guys as well. It was just definitely wanted to go out and compete rather than just throwing live and practicing.
I've heard a little bit about I guess there's a name that keeps getting thrown out by Trenner and Zach as well. So Zach Kelly was down there, I think, when you guys were, and Trenner talked about how Zach Kelly was just an open book, and he opened up to you guys. Did you have any like a similar experience with him or anybody else down there?
He talked to all of us, and he's just like he said, open book. Like, he'd be throwing, you could walk up to him, ask him any question, and he'd be happy to answer. I got to know Frank a little more. I played catch with him a few times, kind of picked his brain, and they're all just good guys. Like, before my outing, like, he just pretty much said, relax, go be you. So I mean, it's funny how such a big age gap, or like affiliate wise, AAA to FCL, like they're all good guys, and they want the best for you and your career.
And I guess that kind of leads me to like the next thing here. So I've noticed a lot with me and Chris were covering the Woo Sox in Worcester this past year. So we got to kind of talk to some of the guys. And I noticed early on that some of the veteran guys or even some of the younger guys themselves were like throwing partners, and they were learning stuff from them, like pitch grips and what they noticed, what's working for them, what's like, how could you help your teammate do better. Did you guys in your draft class like kind of do a little bit of that? Be like, hey, like this helps me get this tick in velocity or whatever.
Yeah, definitely with like sliders and changeups, just getting to see different grips and different like cues on what you're thinking while throwing it. That was kind of the biggest thing for me. Kind of just figuring out what other guys think of when they're throwing those stuff to help it move better, to get more velo on it. So definitely that was more of experience that I had.
So speaking of like that piece, because a lot of the guys have been telling us, you know, again, short sample size, so it's kind of hard for, I guess, to kind of go too deep into it. But any like specific to where like the Sox, hey, we want you to focus on this certain pitch, or we want to elevate this particular, style. That, is there anything that's specific that you want to focus on before getting out and back with the group next year?
It sounded like they wanted more of my sweeper slider grip, to just throw it a little harder. Right now it's like at 81, 83, and they said it'd obviously be better if it's 83, 84. So that's kind of my goal. And then obviously I think most of us pitchers are on a velo camp, so hopefully fastball can move up a couple ticks. So I think that's kind of the main focus this offseason.
And I was gonna say, so if you could describe yourself to Red Sox fans, like what kind of pitcher would you describe yourself as?
I'd say I'm a 3-pitch mix. Usually most days I can throw all 3 for strikes. Pretty consistent. And I'm just one of the guys, I feel like, that just goes out there and gets it done. It may not be pretty, but I'm just going to go out and compete and make sure that I do my job to allow the relievers in the pen to come out and try to get a win. So I'm just my job is just to keep the game intact and go be me and compete.
Well,
so now that it's off season, are you back home? Like you live in North Dakota? Is that where you're like staying during the off season?
Yep, I'm back at in Fargo. I'm from Bismarck, but in Fargo, just training during this velo period, like the velo camp. So after the velo camp, I'll go home and then throw at a facility back home.
So when you're not doing baseball, what's like, who are you as like a person that Red Sox fans can try to kind of paint a different picture of, Cade Feeney, not the pitcher, but Cade Feeney is like normal human being?
Definitely a lot of hunting and fishing. So obviously I've been enjoying that. Went duck hunting last week, and then pheasants opens this weekend. So that, and just I like nature. I have like a cabin on a lake, so enjoy that. And yeah, just I'm usually a goofball. Usually when I start opening up, I'm a goofy guy with my friends. So yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah, Trenner was hyping you up. That he's like he's funny. So I didn't know what we were gonna get, but I asked him too. I said, "Did you guys get a chance to?" Because Trenner's a big. He likes fishing, and I'm pretty sure he likes hunting as well. But did you guys get a chance at all to do any sea fishing down in Fort Myers?
No, we were talking about it, trying to figure out kind of like the last week if there was a day that we could go. It never fell through, but I'm sure either over spring training or sometime we'll get it done. I know that he went fishing a couple times, just like either in ponds or I know he caught, I don't know what kind of fish it was, but he got a big one on a like a dock right outside of Fort Myers. So
Yeah, that's I've kind of noticed. So we chatted with Steven Nogasek, who came through the the Red Sox system a few years back. He was with the Mets and now he's with the Diamondbacks, but he was kind of telling me like, some of the stops for like, Salem, Greenville, those type of things. And he said Salem was his favorite just because he was a big outdoorsman, big hunter, big fisherman. And that reminded him of like, he's from Oregon, I'm pretty sure. So he was saying that Salem was like his favorite stop, which isn't for everybody, I guess, because it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. But do you know, like, have you gotten any talks yet about where you might be headed to start next season?
No. No one's ever said anything. So right now I'm just looking forward to spring training. Hopefully I can prove myself and then start somewhere.
So Chris, I feel like I've been hogging it from you. So I'm gonna turn it over to you for your time to shine.
Yeah. So I feel a lot of times you got, people ask him on podcasts, talk a lot about the baseball side of it and, the team drafting, all that other stuff. But just kind of continuing on, like, more about you. You said you played football and basketball. What's your, do you have an NFL team that you specifically follow now? Even we're, 5 weeks now into the year?
Yeah. Sadly to say Minnesota Vikings, but we're still warming up. We'll be fine.
What's your thoughts on Kirk Cousins? Because it seems like I don't follow the Vikings closely, you know what I mean? But like when you toss on ESPN, you wouldn't Get Up or whatever, people want him on the Jets. Do you think like he's going to be there beyond this year?
I feel like it depends with what kind of draft pick we get. If you can take a new college quarterback, obviously I think they'll do that. But Kirk Cousins, I believe Kirk Cousins does a really good job. He may not be as mobile as some of the other quarterbacks, but with his IQ and his accuracy, I think that he gets the job done. I mean, he's been on a record pace this year so far, even though we're 1-3. But I think he does the job done very well. So I enjoy him as our quarterback.
Were you upset when Dalvin Cook left?
Personally, no, not me. I was probably one of the few. I know me and my buddy, and we'd get in fights with our other guys that we wanted Dalvin Cook out, but like obviously, him, Harrison Smith, Adam Thielen, like just being there for so long, you think like part of the team. But I think it was a good choice to move on and just focus on the future, I guess.
Harrison Smith is sneakily one of my favorite defensive players of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
his quality, like it. I'm a Patriots fan. Growing up in this area, I was a Patriots fan even long before the whole Brady and everything else. And he was one of the dudes that I always wanted the Pats to try to go after, whether it was a trade or something like that. Great player. You know what I mean? I felt like he'd be the perfect Patriot on defense, but it never happened, unfortunately. But now Justin Jefferson's that guy, which selfishly, I think anybody in the league would want Justin Jefferson on their squad. So
yeah, he's unreal, that's for sure.
We can give you Mac though. If you're looking for a quarterback, you can have Mac.
I don't know if we'll make that trade. But.
Yeah, you can have him in a heartbeat.
Well, I feel like the Vikings games I've watched this year, they've had a fumbling problem, which I think as a fan would probably be the most like upsetting way to watch a game. You're just like, okay, like let's get this offense going, and then like they're leading the league in fumbles, man. That's got to be brutal to watch.
Yeah, I mean, every drive they're driving down the field, and then you kind of start expecting something bad to happen. Just either if it's a fumble, turnover, some sort of turnover. I think the stat last week was they've had 8 fumbles so far this year, and that's tied for what they had entire season last year. So
wow,
yeah, it's definitely shooting ourselves in the foot. That's for sure.
Yeah, I was. So are the Vikings the closest team to North Dakota?
Yes, them are probably like Denver.
Oh, yeah,
but...
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's so weird, I guess, because I was just reading a thing on like MLB expansion and they were bringing up Salt Lake City, and I was kind of looking at a map and I'm like, holy cow, like there's this whole like northwest area like that just no teams are out there. So it's like I was always curious, like, growing up, like if you grew up in North Dakota, like what sports teams do they root for, since there's none that's even in the state?
Yeah, it's a big wide variety. Growing up, probably like college football. I think college is different. Everyone's like different here in North Dakota. I know my college football team is Notre Dame. Always have been since I was a kid. I went to their university when I think I was like 12. So like really just enjoyed it, loved it. Um, for professional teams, it's pretty like just the closest, just because. So a lot of Minnesota Twins, a lot of Vikings. So yeah.
How does that work with how does it work with the TV? Like, so you know how like obviously in like in Massachusetts you get NESN, like New England Sports Network, so you can get every Red Sox game, Bruins game. Then you have NBC Boston for Celtics. And so what what local team do you get like for professional baseball?
We get the Twins. So Twins will always be on, and then it's usually just pretty much that whole division. Like Cleveland is usually on there. So I feel like it's kind of just that little northeast or east of North Dakota, that little section.
Interesting. That's wild.
Well, the people out here are incredibly hyper focused when it comes to the Sox. So it's definitely, I'm not sure if you've seen it on social media and things like that, but people are good and or bad, super passionate about the Sox and the players and things like that. So, but speaking of kind of like that, I guess my last question would be is, recently, obviously Tim Wakefield passed away, longtime Red Sox, huge influence, for 20 years of the organization. Did you guys get any sort of interaction either with him or any sort of other, players of that stature during your time, whether it was pre-draft, after you're drafted down in Florida? Did you get to interact with either him or any other, athlete?
No, we did not. We didn't really get to do any of that. I wish obviously we could have, and just obviously picked his brain and figured out kind of like what his whole experience was like, and get to learn about it. So sad that we didn't get to do that, but yeah.
So I got a couple last questions here. Have you ever been to Boston?
Yes, I was there when I was 14. We made the World Series for like Babe Ruth summer league. So we made the World Series. It was in Springfield, so we stopped in Boston, toured the field, and then I was just back in Boston for that workout in June.
Okay. Yeah, Trenner has yet to go to Boston, so I thought that was kind of crazy that a guy getting drafted and by a team and he's just never been there before. It's the nature of the beast, I guess. But it is kind of crazy that it's like, oh, I got drafted by this team, but I've never even been to that city before. It's kind of odd, but I don't know. It's cool. It'll happen eventually. But all right, so I have one of my last questions. So. I've asked both of the guys previously as well. So say we are a year from now. So say we're October 4th of 2024. So you've had your whole first full year of pro ball behind you. What are your top 3 goals that you're looking to accomplish by this time next year?
I'd say establish myself kind of with whatever team I'm with, establish myself as one of the guys, or a guy that can get the job done in any situation. I kind of feel like that's who I want to be, is someone that the coaching staff, development staff can trust in whatever it is. Other goals would probably be to see my average velo go up. Obviously, that's with how the game's played today. Fastballs in the majors are just accelerating, going up higher and higher every year. And then hopefully meet some new friends, new lifelong friends. I already did that with some new draft guys. So just meet new guys and making new memories.
I did have another one that kind of popped in my head. Is there any type? I guess is there any certain pitcher that you might model your game after?
Um, I don't think so. I really haven't like watched like a pitcher and be like, oh, I need to try this, try that. I haven't done that, but I forgot who. Talking with some player development with the Red Sox, they said I pitch like someone. Forgot who it was. I think it was Bieber. That's kind of who they thought I resembled on the mound. So
It's not a bad
I
comp
was
to
gonna say,
have.
don't hate that.
yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of unique. Triner said Garrett Cole, so that was he's like, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that with it being the Yankees, but I mean, obviously he's a damn good pitcher, so it's obviously acceptable. But Bieber is a heck of a comp too. So yeah, but I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see. Like Chris said earlier, he alluded to that there's gonna be like a new guy in charge and here probably pretty soon, and it's gonna be interesting to see how it. I don't know if you really paid attention to the minor leagues, I guess, after you got drafted, but did you guys ever talk about like how like the Red Sox were super aggressive this year with promoting guys. They were sending guys up left and right. Even some guys from your draft class were in Greenville by the end of it. I think Christian Campbell was, and maybe one other. But did you guys notice that at all, that they were being pretty aggressive with the younger guys?
A little bit. We saw that a lot with like the position players. Mostly, like they were there. A few of them are there for like 3 weeks, and then as soon as they kind of got settled in, they just pretty much left. Most of the pitchers we got taken really kind of slow, which I enjoyed just for the development part and learning new things. I think there was 3 guys that at the end of the year pitched 1 or 2 innings in Salem. So, but other than that, yeah, that's definitely like moving up fast is definitely what you want, especially with your career. If you're in your prime, not your prime, but like in that little part of your career.
Does that at all? I guess seeing that it obviously will add fuel to you a little bit of being like, okay, like, I get that the position players were going a little quicker, but does that add anything to you? They're just like, okay, like, they're generally way more aggressive this year than they have been, Chris, I think in years. Like I haven't seen guys move this far up.
Yeah, no, it's I think last year when a player was promoted, it was like a shock, you know what I mean? Especially if they were, recently drafted, to where this year, but I also think too, like the aggressiveness, was warranted. Like these guys were pitching well, or they were hitting well, or whatever it might be. I mean, they all warranted their promotion. And at some point, as part of, the continued development that has to happen. So I was actually happy to see that the Sox did that, and that they were very aggressive to get guys promoted. And I hope that's the case next year too. You know what I mean? It helps challenge you guys, as players, and showcase, why you're drafted by the Sox and what your abilities are. So I'm looking forward to what they do next year.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, like, just a good example of that was a guy that got drafted in the last 2022 draft, Nathan Landry. He's like a 15th round pick. He's a lefty. He throws at a really unique arm angle, but he got called up in 2023. He got called up after 1 month in Salem because he went on like an 11 game. He didn't give up a run in 11 games or anything like that, and they were just quick with it. They're like, all right, you're up. Like, he was a college kid. He went to Mizzou, and it's been cool to see it. But so I'm hoping that's what's in store for you guys, because I'm definitely rooting for you guys to get start next year, hit the ground running, and see what we got. But Cade, we appreciate the time.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate you guys having me. This was awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, we definitely would love to talk with you again in the future. Obviously, like you're just getting your feet wet in the Sox system. That's you appeared in the one game in Florida, so hopefully the next time we talk to you, you got some more experience behind your belt, and yeah, you're definitely on your way in the system. So like I said, I appreciate the time.
Yes, thank you again.